Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is Friday, November 6, 2020, non-farm payroll. I just want to start off a little bit different this morning. So on the left side, these two are daily ES candles. The top side is bell to bell only or regular trading hours. The bottom side has extended on. You got on the left side, you got daily candles. On the right side, you have weekly candles. I just want to point out, as we've been sitting here screwing around basically since September 2nd, right? And right around that time frame, that we've kind of been consolidating, basically between 3,200 and 3,600 for the most part, right? So as we've come here, if you look at the weekly candles, right, we've got some decisions coming out this week with the election. We had some pin up, lack of bid, and a lot of it had to do with the NASDAQ and the fear of the election results. Just to make a long story short, that then they thought there would be selling pressure on NASDAQ stocks because taxes were going to be going up next year, and that would force some selling in there so they could lock in gains that were not that they could lock in with a lower marginal tax rate if they locked them in this year and then get back into them next year. So that was the the rumor mill for the NASDAQ, pushed down as of late. So when it looks like there's less obvious tax consequences, right? And we're not talking about the election, really. We're talking about election results that affect the stock market and why. So with the Senate, retaining, where it is, they don't think that that's a likely scenario that there's going to be a large tax increase anytime soon that's going to make anyone change their position in the NASDAQ stock. So people started jumping back in those again. I realize I'm looking at the ES, but if you look at the NASDAQ, same thing, little outperformance there. So as we're coming up here, right, we've been consolidating. So with consolidation, the first thing you do is you look at the bottom of the range and the top of the range. So there's all likelihood that we continue to migrate upwards, right, until proven otherwise. I just want to let you know that yesterday, I have a study that I created that I watched. This purple line on the bottom is the VIX. This yellow line on the bottom is just the ES and where it's in for the range. This is a range chart. So normally, if you get an afternoon, basically from 1 p.m. on, where they both stay above the top third of the chart for the whole afternoon, that puts selling pressure on it, and those are usually swing tops that I'll try to enter into a swing short. But when they don't, right, both stay up there, it's not a clear of a signal, but there was a little bit more pressure yesterday early on the VIX, right, and it kind of moderated, and then now it ended high, but the index ended low, so it really took that signal back off the table. It's just something to be cautious of, but with everything going on, it's probably a little understandable, but it wasn't a clear signal. It looks like it was going to set up yesterday, but it did not. So I just want to go over that because I mentioned that in my room. So looking at the overnight session and really what's going on here, we had almost 53 points in the overnight session. The level of fours are from 34.37 up to 35.72. We're likely to see neither of the extremes today, right? So what I'm watching is really if we can maintain above 34.83. Right now we're at 34.96 as I'm talking. We can migrate basically up to 35.23, and then we'll see, how that level holds. But that would be where I would expect some churn in. And we can see right here in the middle of the chart, just looking at basic support and resistance, right around 3,500, which is the area that we're, running into right now, is just an above or below line that, any technician can draw on the chart. So looking back at just some of the sequences overnight, chop fest, right? But now coming out of those lows at 5 o'clock, it looks a little bit of a better pattern. So I'd actually, on a severe micro draw, just looking for short-term inter-bias day trading levels, I would watch that sequence coming out of the overnight session low as well. Looking at the NASDAQ, you can see same picture, holding this 61.8, so it's a little less sloppy than the ES is. And for the Russell, very sloppy, but still a hold nonetheless. And it's actually in extensions now on this finest micro draw from basically 1652.60 too high. So I would be keeping an eye on that. So we haven't really looked at the longer term draws because of technical issues this week. So as we look at these, right, getting back above this area is really a chop zone between, as I mentioned earlier, 34.83 up to basically 35.24, 25 right in there. Excuse me. And then above that, you got 35.46 to 56 basically is the next support and resistance lines above those. I would still expect a little bit of churn in this area, and we'll see. If we do get up here, we could end up stalling on a bullish case scenario. Stalling somewhere under this 25 area basically, and then maybe getting a late day push or a late day flop. We'll have to see how all that plays out. Looking at the NASDAQ real quick, if I can type on the right screen. Same thing. The NASDAQ, really, this is more of a key level up here at basically 11,927. It's really holding that now, and it's a sloppy churn basically between 12,000 to 12,200 is a zone, and then above 12,200. So those are the levels I'd watch. Below, this 11,927, if things start getting out of hand, it goes down basically down to 11,727. But with the non-farm payroll, until proven otherwise, and from last Friday's lows that we talked about with game theory last week, right? There was only a point made on a new low since that call last Friday, right? We chopped around, made a new low, and then ripped the last 40 minutes of Friday. We haven't really looked back since last Friday at anything, and I just want to go back over the streakiness, right? So this was last Friday when we put in that incremental lower low by 1 point compared to the overnight session, right? And it's just been a streak up since then, right? This is almost like a rocket ship taking off, and it has the appearance that it should make an incremental higher all-time high. We'll see. It still has to breach these levels that we were just talking about, and we'll see how that goes. And we'll watch the up sequences as we go up higher, right? On micro sequences, it would be nothing for this market to pull back and retest near 3,400. So I just want to put that on the table right now that we're just basically in the zone. So from August 5th to now, we've only spent 9 trading sessions below 33.12. The majority of them have been between basically 3,300 and 3,500 for those 2-3 months now. So just laying that out there for you. Looking at the Dow, we have 28,385 right above there. That's going to be a lot more of an important line, but you can see all the resistance that needs to be churned through, and this is weak resistance because it really hasn't traded too much, and then it can go up towards its all-time high. But staying above this next week is going to be critical. So some of these levels I'm really watching for holds or failures between this week and next. So you can see right now the chop range is between 27,921 and 28,385. That's what we're in right now. So status quo basically, and then above there, like I said, the first level I even have on the chart is 28,595. Ending with the Russell here. We're in the zone that basically goes between 1625 to 1675. Let's round it off a little bit. There's really nothing up there until that, and then you got some places that you can churn from 1675 basically up to 1690, and then there'll be there's really nothing above that level that would do it. I do want to also point out that all the indexes year to date now are pretty much up or flat, right? Including the Russell now. So that is something else to keep an eye on. So we didn't look at the profile, but for the NASDAQ, the overnight low held on the single prints. There was some single prints also on the ESO watch during the session, and again lines up with that 34.83 level. I hope this helps. You guys have a great weekend, and we do have overhead supply right in these value areas. I'll give out the equity profiles. I'll give the updated overnight ranges for the value, and just watching if we can hold above value is going to be more bullish. But we still have overhead supply from yesterday for the ES and the NASDAQ still to go through, and that could really stall out. Even if we get positive prints, right? The NASDAQ has to go quite a bit to turn positive, but you're right where the overhead supply is. So watching the internals, watching the VIX, right? The VIX starts leaking up. The markets are likely to fail from the area that we're at right now. So it's going to be something that it's not a give me trade today in either direction. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you Monday.